You flip a light switch. The bulb across the room lights up instantly. How fast did the electricity travel through that wire? Speed of light, yes? 186,000 miles per second? But how fast do the electrons themselves move? The actual particles carrying the charge. Everyone says electrons flow like water in a pipe. Fast current, fast electrons. Wrong. The electrons barely move at all. Centimeters per hour, like cold honey dripping. So how does the light turn on instantly? The answer has nothing to do with particles. It's about what fills the space between them. The electrons in a copper wire move impossibly slow, under typical household current, maybe 1 millimeter per second. Do the calculation, at that speed it would take hours for an electron to cross a room, yet you flip the switch and the light responds in milliseconds. This should be impossible, unless electricity isn't about electrons moving. Not really. Everyone pictures electricity like water flowing through pipes. You push. Water in one end, water flows out the other end at the same speed. Seems obvious. Electron goes in at the wall, electron comes out at the bulb. But the wire is already full of electrons. Packed tight, nearly touching, like marbles filling a tube. Here's what actually happens. Push one marble into a tube already packed with marbles. The marble at the far end pops out immediately, even though the marble you pushed barely moved an inch. The signal travels through the chain. The individual particles don't need to. But that's still mechanical thinking. Still particles pushing particles. Nature is more elegant than that. I didn't think in particles. I thought in fields. When I close my eyes, I see the invisible. The electromagnetic field fills all of space, not an empty void with the occasional electron drifting through, but a living, breathing medium. Call it the ether, call it the field, call it space itself. The name doesn't matter. When you flip that switch, you disturb the field. And the field responds everywhere simultaneously. Well, nearly, at the speed of light. It's like hitting a drumhead. The disturbance ripples through the entire membrane at once. The electrons? They just ride the wave. The field is primary. The particles are secondary. In the 1890s, everyone else was focused on electrons flowing through wires. I saw something different. The wire is merely a guide for the field. I built my laboratory in Colorado Springs to prove it. Generated lightning bolts that shook the earth. Lit electric bulbs miles away without any wire connecting them. But wait, if the field does all the work, why do we need electrons at all? Because the field alone cannot carry energy through matter. It needs something to push against. The electromagnetic field is a disturbance in space itself, yes, but in empty space, the field just propagates freely. Light, radio waves. In a wire, though, the field has electrons to interact with. Think of electrons like boats on water. A wave passes underneath, the boats bob up and down, the wave continues on its way. But those boats moving, that's the current. That's energy being delivered to where you need it. The wave carries the pattern. The electrons carry the energy. The field oscillates, alternating current, or shifts steadily, direct current. Either way, the electrons respond. They drift slightly in response to the field. That drift is tiny, but multiply it by trillions upon trillions of electrons and you get substantial current. Well, not exactly drift, more like organized chaos. The electrons are already moving very fast in random thermal motion, bouncing every which way. The field adds a tiny systematic nudge in one direction. That nudge is minuscule compared to their random motion, but it's coordinated across countless particles. Which raises the question, how does the field know to propagate so fast? This is where it gets deep. Field disturbances propagate at the speed of light in vacuum, in copper. Wire about 2/3. The speed of light. Still unimaginably fast. But why that speed? The speed of light is not arbitrary. It's the speed. The speed at which causality itself propagates through the universe. James Clerk Maxwell figured this out in the 1860s. He calculated the speed of electromagnetic waves using nothing but pure theory, just two measured constants, the electric permittivity and magnetic permeability of empty space. When he worked through the mathematics, he got 300,000 kilometers per second, and Maxwell said, "This is light. Light is an electromagnetic wave." I knew this intimately. I worked with Maxwell's equations every day, built my entire career on field oscillations, resonance, frequencies, standing waves. Nature speaks in waves. Particles are just where the waves get intense. Every wireless transmission proves this. Radio waves cross continents instantly. No particles make that journey. Pure field propagating through space. But here's what should trouble you. If electrons barely move, how do batteries die? How does an electric heater get hot if the electrons just wiggle in place? The energy must go somewhere. The electrons drift slowly, yes, but they carry tremendous energy, not from their speed, from their number. A wire contains something like 10 to the 23rd power-free electrons per cubic centimeter. Each one carries a tiny charge. Even a millimeter per second drift when you multiply by that many electrons gives you amperes of current. Real, substantial current. That's why the wire heats up. As electrons drift, they collide with the atoms of the wire. Each collision transfers kinetic energy. The atoms vibrate more intensely. That vibration is heat. It's like a crowd pushing through a narrow hallway. People move slowly, but the friction and jostling generates heat in the bodies and the walls. But here's the deeper truth. The energy isn't in the electrons. The energy is in the field. The electrons just transfer it from the field to the matter. The field stores energy in its electric and magnetic components. This is what took me decades to understand fully. I designed AC power systems, hydroelectric generators, wireless transmission towers. Always the energy flows in the field around the conductors, not through them. The pointing vector, the direction of energy flow, points perpendicular to the wire. The conductors merely guide where the field concentrates. So the real question isn't why electrons move slow, it's why we need them at all. You could have a pure field with no particles. That's light in vacuum. But you can't extract energy from a freely propagating field. You need something to absorb it, to slow it down, to couple it to matter. Electrons in a conductor serve that purpose. They couple the field to the material world. Think of it this way. The field wants to propagate. The wire forces it to stay, to concentrate. This creates tension, a concentration of energy, like water in a pipe versus the open ocean. The pipe constrains the flow, increases the pressure, enables you to do work. The wire constrains the field, enables current, delivers power where you need it. This is why I loved resonance. Match the frequency of your source to the natural frequency of your receiver, and the field couples efficiently between them. Wireless power transfer becomes possible. In 1899, I lit 200 electric lamps at a distance of 26 miles. No wires. Pure resonant coupling through the field. Everyone said it was impossible. Where would the energy go? It must dissipate into space, they said. I told them the Earth itself is a conductor. It will carry the return current, and I proved it, briefly, which brings us full circle. We started with a paradox: slow electrons, fast electricity. The resolution: electricity is the field, not the particles. Electrons just let the field do work on matter. Their slow drift is irrelevant to the signal speed. This is nature's elegant solution. You can't have stable matter without particles. Charge must be quantized. You can't have instant signaling without fields. Information must propagate. You need both working together. The field provides speed and reach. The particles provide coupling and energy transfer. Every electronic device exploits this. Transistors switch the field. Electrons respond to that switching. The field changes in nanoseconds. The electrons drift microns. Yet the device functions at gigahertz frequencies. We engineer the fields. The electrons just cooperate. I spent my life seeing this. The invisible choreography. Fields dancing through space. Particles following like shadows. Energy flowing in patterns more beautiful than any machine I ever built. Most people thought I was chasing phantoms. They wanted to understand the electrons, to trace their paths. I was trying to show them something more fundamental. Understanding the field doesn't end the mystery. It raises a deeper question. What is the field? It's not made of anything. It's pure relation, pure structure, a disturbance in space itself. But what is space? In my era, we called it the ether. We needed a medium for the waves. Sound needs air, water waves need water. But Michelson and Morley couldn't find the ether. Einstein said later, you don't need the ether, just the field. Perhaps we were both right. Perhaps we were both wrong. The field is real. It has energy. It carries momentum. You can measure its effects precisely. But it's not a mechanical medium. It's something more fundamental. Space itself has properties. It can bend. That's gravity. It can vibrate. That's electromagnetism. This is where my intuition reaches its limit. I can picture fields. I can design resonators. I can calculate frequencies. But I cannot picture what the field is at the deepest level. But perhaps that's the wrong question. Maybe asking what the field is made of is like asking what a number is made of. The field might be fundamental, not reducible to anything simpler. What matters? We can work with it. We can measure it, predict it, harness it. We built an entire electrical civilization on field theory without understanding the ultimate nature of the field itself. My coils, Edison's bulbs, Marconi's radio, all of it is field manipulation. The electrons come along for the ride. So, why do electrons move so slow but electricity is instant? Because electricity isn't electron motion, it's field propagation. The electrons just mark where the field does work on matter. The wave is the message, the particle is the messenger. This is what I tried to show the world, the primacy of the field, wireless power, resonant transfer, a global electrical system where energy flows through the earth and the air, not through metal wires. Most thought it was impossible because they were trapped in particle thinking. If you see only electrons, you miss the symphony. Next question. Can the field exist without particles at all? Without matter? In vacuum, yes. That's light. That's radio waves. Pure field propagating through nothingness. But can consciousness perceive a pure field? Or do we need matter as an interface between the field and awareness? That's deeper than electrical engineering. That's metaphysics. I'll stop here. But you see now, the invisible is more real than the visible. The particles you can almost picture, the electrons marching through wires, those are just the shadow play. The field is the reality. Silent, invisible, filling all of space, carrying energy, transmitting force, making possible every light, every motor, every spark. And we've barely begun to understand what it really is.